Hey everyone, welcome to the 200cc version of Staff Ghostbusters DLC Wave 1 Edition. I'm going to be showing you some good beginner-ish friendly lines to help you beat all the Staff Ghosts for the Golden Dash Cup and Lucky Cat Cup on 200cc. As per usual, I'll avoid advanced strats as much as possible, and for the most part I'll only be using mushrooms to show you where the shortcuts are at. But with the exception of Ninja Hideaway and Shroom Ridge, pretty much all the ghosts can be beaten relatively easy without any speed items whatsoever. That's enough intro though, let's start with Paris Promenade. Like you can see on lap 1, the mushroom shortcut here is right through the middle of the track at the very start of the lap, or at the end of the lap if we're talking about lap 3. If you're not using mushrooms, then in terms of left or right, I don't have a very good sense of which one is quicker, but I just do the right side because it feels faster for me. Now a common theme for the 200cc tracks is that instead of trying to just build up as many mini turbos as possible, I'm going to suggest neutral drifting, that is drifting without putting any directions on the joystick, as much as possible. As an example, after going off the glider, make sure to start holding the drift button and left on the joystick so that you can land in a left drift. Build up a single mini turbo, then do a right drift before the pipe. Then start another left drift after passing the first pipe. It's this turn in particular that you want a neutral drift around. There are a few reasons for this, but the only one you need to worry about for the purposes of this video is that it gives you enough space to take the last right drift at the end of the lap. On lap 2, I go straight after the glider instead of going left. This is actually quite a bit slower than the left path, but it's also way easier. So if you're having trouble with the left path, you can always go for this way instead. Make sure that if you do go on the straight path, that you pay attention to where the piranha plant is facing so that you don't get eaten. Aside from that, on lap 3 we actually run through the whole course backwards, which is pretty cool, but it means that we need to pay attention to a couple of things. First of all, around the first big right turn, I build up 2 mini turbos. It's better to try and build up a single ultra mini turbo if you can, and it's not super hard to do either. Other than that, the last thing to point out is that after tricking off the ramp before the piranha plant section, land in a right drift and make sure to go to the right of the piranha plant to take the fast path like we did on lap 1. Not much else to mention though, so see you all in Toad Circuit. If you watch my 150cc video, you'll know that I didn't have a lot to say about Toad Circuit. I have even less to say about it on 200cc. Just make sure to grab all the coins that you see and take the really tight turns around the red and white track barriers whenever you can. To do the shortcut, we're basically going to do what we did on 150, where you wait until the track switches from grass to sand on the left-hand side, and then hang a hard left to the right-hand side of the first pipe. You can actually take the turn tighter than I do and come out of the shortcut on the grass, but either way, pretty easy course relatively speaking, so see you all at Choco Mountain. This course has a couple of tricky things to learn. First of all, like Toad Circuit, coins can be pretty hard to come by on this track, so make sure to grab every coin you see. Second of all, when going off the glider, make sure not to land until after the wooden ramp, otherwise you're going to have a really bad time going around the hairpin turn. You really want to try and grab 3 coins from the glider if you can, but if you can't, then just make sure to grab whatever other coins you need from the glider on lap 2. Speaking of the glider, after you land, the best way to do this is to do a mini turbo into super mini turbo. You can build up an ultra mini turbo, but it'll make the right turn after the hairpin section a bit harder to navigate. But yeah, basically the way to summarize this course is play the first half before the glider exactly how you'd think to play it, and then for the stuff after the glider, just memorize what I do. Next up is Coconut Mall, which is probably the second most difficult portion of the DLC, so I'll talk to you all then. Okay, so there's not much of a way around it. If you want to beat the Staff Ghost, you basically need to memorize the lines. This course offers next to no room for improvisation, and if even the slightest thing goes wrong, your run is pretty much dead. The basic story is trick off the first green escalator on the right, mushroom through the store if you're using mushrooms, and then drift off the green escalator on the left. You do not want to trick off the top of this escalator, otherwise you're going to run face first into the wall. I trick off the palm tree planters after the green ramp, but I don't really suggest doing that because it'll make it harder to avoid the big planter at the end of that section, which again is going to cause you to run face first into the wall. Just like on 150cc, after going up the second green ramp, don't go up the following green ramp and instead go off to the right. On lap 2, the first escalator on the right should still be green, but the second green escalator will have switched from the left-hand side to the right-hand side, so make sure to pay attention to that. Again, do not trick off the top of that escalator, just drift and hold a hard right. On lap 3, the first green escalator will now be on the left, and while it is possible to take the mushroom cut just like before, it's really hard to set that up. So what I do is start a right drift and then go straight down the middle of the track. If you pay attention to my position on the track relative to the Staff Ghost, you'll see that I'm pretty far ahead on lap 3, so you can actually do this strat on all 3 laps and just use your mushrooms on the last straightaway if you want. It is a lot easier, but it's quite a bit slower too, so you're going to build up less of a buffer than I do here. But that's it for Coconut Mall. Let's move on to a decidedly easier course, shall we? If you just copy what I do, there's really not that much else to talk about with this track. You can use your mushroom to take the shortcut before the ramp, but it doesn't really save that much time. And in fact, you can just drift straight onto the ramp without losing your mini turbo. So yeah, not many good mushroom spots here. Make sure that on lap 2 you go to the left-hand path in the thwomp section because the left-hand thwomp has a tendency to block your line of sight to the left path, which is going to make you want to go the wrong way. Anyways, like I said, not much to talk about here. I only beat the Staff Ghost by about 1.5 seconds, so the timing does look pretty tight, but once you learn how the track is set up, it's pretty easy to play, so it's a lot easier than it might seem. With that out of the way though, I'll see you all in... hold on a second, let me check my notes. Okay, so this course has the distinct honor of being the hardest track in the DLC, while simultaneously having one of the easiest Staff Ghosts to beat. Actually, come to think of it, I think this might be the first DLC track where we actually need to brake drift. The first place that we're going to do this is going to be around the turn where you see me grab the first 3 coins. The second spot is going to be in the tunnel section. Speaking of the tunnel section, you must make sure not to build up anything bigger than a regular mini turbo. This is because what we're going to want to do is just after coming out of the tunnel, use a mushroom to take the shortcut through the air vent to cut out the hairpin turn. You can avoid building up higher levels of mini turbo by neutral drifting through the tunnel as much as possible. If you don't have mushrooms, then you'd better become acquainted with the brake button or else you're going to have a hell of a time trying to navigate the turns while avoiding the cars. The last thing to mention is that just before going into the tunnel there's a really big hill that makes it hard to see the traffic. The dip in that hill has a nasty tendency to hide cars, especially on lap 2, so make sure to take wide lines wherever possible here to give yourself more time to react. I've described this course as a Frankenstein's monster of Neo Bowser City, Toad's Turnpike, and a hydrofluoric acid enema. You can mix in some rusty nails and barbed wire to that concoction if we're talking about 200cc. Fortunately, like I said, the Staff Ghost tends not to play the course particularly well either, so hopefully playing it extra safe and using all your mushrooms to cut out that nasty hairpin turn can help you beat it. But that's it for Shroom Ridge, on to Sky Garden. Another pretty straightforward course on 200cc. It basically plays exactly how you think it would play for the most part. with really the only thing of note being the shortcut at the end of the lap. I use a mushroom to get through this on lap 1, but like you'll see on lap 2, you don't even need mushrooms to get through it at all. It's basically the same as the first shortcut on Mario Kart Stadium, except that we're going left instead of right. Very little can actually go wrong here, so that's all I've got to say about Sky Garden. Catch you all in the Hideaway. Okay, so this is probably the hardest staff ghost to beat in the entire DLC. I'm gonna try and run through this track twice actually, once using an easy method and once using a slightly more advanced but still doable method. For the easier method, after going into the building at the start of the lap, you can choose to go up the stairs or stay on the ground floor. The easy method involves staying on the ground floor and using your mushroom to take the shortcut on all 3 laps. When you get into the section with the moving platforms, do a left hop just before tricking off the first bump in the road to align yourself better for taking the shortcut. Then just stay on the bottom of the track after the bamboo section the entire way. Make sure that on the final right turn of the lap that you brake drift hard to take the turn as tightly as you can. Otherwise you'll go off the glider ramp, which will cost you a ton of time like you'll see on lap 2. And if you want to get a sense of how to do the brake drifting, just pay attention to the sounds coming out of my cart at the end of the lap. Laps 2 and 3 are exactly the same as lap 1 in the easier method, so I'll see you all when we start talking about the slightly less easy version of the run. Okay, so for the more advanced run, there are 2 main differences. First, we're not going to be taking the mushroom cut. Actually, we are going to take the mushroom cut on lap 1, but that was a mistake, so don't do that. Instead, hop over the little wooden ramp and then just turn left at the end of the road. Then, after going off the glider, go up and land on the top portion of the track. There are more coins here, and it will allow us to take a pretty nifty shortcut. The way that the shortcut works is that we're going to stay on top of the level all the way until the end, do a left drift, and build up a super mini turbo, and then mushroom and trick off the ramp. You want to go off the right hand side of the ramp so that you get as much airtime as possible, and you want to be angled in such a way that you go over the big tree just below the right hand side of the ramp. If you did it right, you'll land on the path below just at the end of the lap. Once you figured it out, it's not really super difficult to execute, and actually on lap 3, I accidentally did the shortcut without using a mushroom since I forgot that I took the shortcut on lap 1. But yeah, it can be pretty tricky to learn, but once you do learn it, it's not really that hard to do. After that, the main difference between the previous version of the run and this one is that we're going to go up the stairs on laps 2 and 3, since this allows us to take tighter lines and grab more coins. The general idea here is that if the moving platforms are up at the end of this section, then you want to go up the stairs. The problem is that without learning the cycles, it's impossible to predict where they're going to be at any given moment, so the safer route is always going to be going to the bottom. Anyways, that's all I've got to say about Ninja Hideaway, and with that, you'll have beaten all the staff ghosts on 200cc. I hope this video helped you out. If it did, don't forget to leave a like and a comment to help this video get spread to other racers like yourself who are looking to improve at the game. Thank you very much for taking the time out of your day to watch this video, and as always, I will see you in the next one.